Yeah. All right, next up is Jared. He's going to talk us about getting stopped, improving your content's first impression.
Thank you. Hooray, this thing works. So, my name is Jared Bhatti. I work at Google, and I came here to write the docs last year and was very much inspired by all the talks that I heard. And coincidentally, I happened to be starting a new project at Google working on Google's cloud products. So if any of you feel inspired to be a speaker next year, I just want to let you know there are cupcakes, delicious cupcakes in the green room. And if you speak, you get to eat as many as you want. I have had 6. So a little bit about just myself. TW on Google Cloud. I'm pretty much Jared Bhatti everywhere. So Jared Bhatti at Twitter, Jared Bhatti at Gmail. So feel free to stalk me. I'm friendly. I'm kind of boring, so there won't be too much. But a little bit about Google's cloud platform. So you probably have heard of some of these products, but all of these products are interlinked with one another. So Google App Engine, Compute Engine, storage products like Google Storage, Cloud SQL. There's a lot of data analysis projects like BigQuery. And each of these has a getting started experience, but all of these products can be combined with one another for their own really fun, complex getting started experiences. And that leads to all sorts of fun complexities. So when I immediately started on this project, I started learning all of these, and I discovered all sorts of nasty, thorny issues in each one of them. And I thought, hey, awesome talk. And this is my first talk. Years of karaoke experience have prepared me for this. So here we go. And there's going to be a bit of a hands-on component, and I'm going to introduce you to some of the worst products in this list, because really showing you the products that work the best, that's boring, that's not why you're here. I think we all learn a lot from failure, and I really want to show you on my most interesting failures. So here we go. But in the interest of getting started, making first impressions, I'm going to give you all a quick little exercise. So there are going to be some hands-on parts of this presentation. Yes, I know, it's exciting. You're all in round tables. You get to talk to one another. But what I really want to do is start a conversation around getting started. Like, what does it take to get people started learning on a product? What inspires them? What keeps them going through that journey of learning? And then what makes them feel success and accomplished at the very end? And I also want to share with you some of the metrics that we've gathered at Google through the course of improving a lot of our products through doing this sort of analysis. Because, like I said, we ran into a lot of issues, a lot of interesting problems, and we tried to come at them from some really interesting intersectional angles. So like I said, we've got a hands-on activity right to begin with. So all of you are here, all of you are very smart, all of you work on products right now, and I want to just take a minute, like literally 2 minutes, think of a product or service that you work on, and if you don't work on a product or service at the moment, think of the most complex project you've ever worked on. And what are some of the challenges that you had in getting people started on your project? So I'm going to model this real quick. So my name is Jared Bhatti. I work on Google Cloud products. And the challenge that I have is getting users onboarded as quickly as possible in a way that both shows the options, but simultaneously gets them started developing a project in a quick and efficient way. So some of the challenges I have are dealing with complexity, dealing with a tremendous number of users coming in with different levels of education, and dealing with a project that can be built in a myriad of complex ways. So I'm going to give you a minute now. You can start working. If you have any questions, just raise your hand. I'll run over. Yes. I think you're good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. It's really quick. I'm going to jump into a ton of data, so yeah. Hi. How do you have trouble getting started?
Well, my job was my application. Our customers and clients for our company. So I guess our biggest challenge is just getting people to actually use it and go with that.
Awesome.
So we are always trying to find ways to make sure that what the information we're providing, content we're providing, is what they're going to be looking for. We want to make sure like super accurate information instead of just filling a document and checking it out with a checklist.
One second. So I noticed some people are jumping already into the second step, which is introduce yourself to somebody next to you, give them a handshake or high five, and tell them some of your getting started challenges. Nice. All right, we're going to give you another 30 seconds, then we're going to wrap things up and bring it back in. All right, so I'm gonna give you like a couple seconds just to close your thoughts. Bring it back up here. So awesome. So we all have a lot of opinions on where users get hung up, what we're working on, what our challenges are. And I want to dig into some of the challenges that we discovered that we had at Google. And some of these might look really familiar. Findability. People don't know where to start searching. We had complexity. I mean, people know where to start searching, Google, but the results that were coming up, they weren't the right results. They weren't the ones that we wanted them to get. Complexity and density. Our projects are really, really hard, and we were confronting people with the complexity of the problem that we had solved, and not how simplistic their solution could possibly be. And that was frightening a lot of people. And we had poor connections with our user communities. We weren't going to where developers were. We were expecting them to come to us. And that was a problem. We needed to actually do some outreach, do some interactions, lower the level of hubris a little bit. So how we dealt with a lot of these issues was looking at getting started as if it were a three-part story. So there's a story arc to getting started, and it starts out with somebody has this idea and they want to get rolling on a project. So they want to find some helpful content. Afterwards, they want to get something done. They want to get something working. So I just bought a new camera. I was really excited. I had no idea how to turn it on. I wanted to take a photo, but I had to turn it on first. So there's a pretty easy 3-step process here. For something like Google's cloud products, it's a little different, but it's still similar. So you have getting to Google's developer docs, deploying Hello World, really simple app to production, and then launching your first complex app. So your original goal was number 3, but you had to learn a lot and actually get something launched before you could get there. So just drilling into step 1, finding helpful content, we discovered that we had a lot of issues. And this step is where a lot of people overlook. We all like to pretend that we have this walled garden of content. People come in the front door and they immediately see how to get started with whatever project it is that we're working on. Unfortunately, it's not quite that way. So there's this thing called Google Search, and people use it, which is a good thing for me. And when they use it, they sometimes get results that are unexpected. So in this case, this is one of our projects. This is one of our products. This is Google Cloud Storage. And when you do a search for Google Cloud Storage, which is an amazing product, by the way, you can use it to store large amounts of data in Google's infrastructure. It allows you to upload files like music and movies and things like that, and store like big blobs of data. Awesome. When you search for it, this is what you get. These are the first 10 links. So what's wrong with this? Well, this is what's wrong with it. So 7 of these links lead you to dead ends that have nothing to do with Google Cloud Storage. So all of these links are crap. These two links are crap. And then you get Google Cloud Storage, which is a marketing page, which requires you to click in about 4 times through 4 different pages to actually get to what you would want as a developer to actually get started with Google Cloud. The link that we would like people to see first is all the way down here, and it even takes 2 clicks in that. So that sort of speaks to a structural issue there. So immediately you've put in front of users a tremendous amount of friction that they didn't expect. Because hey, we're Google. They expect our result to look something like this. So this is Amazon S3, which is a competitor. They're a fantastic product as well. And when you do a search for Amazon S3, you get this, which is beautiful. You get Amazon S3, their logo. They have a nice little Google search card. They have see more results. They have try Amazon S3 storage, their ad. And even the Wikipedia entry down here is 2 links to get to getting started for Amazon S3. This is beautiful. So every single one of these links, as soon as you click into it, you immediately get to the getting started experience for Amazon. So Amazon knows Google Search better than the Google Cloud team, which is a problem. So how can we fix this? Well, start searching for your products, see how they come up. There's a really great tool, Google Analytics, that allows you to see referrals and seeing where your users get in. Users are really sneaky, and when they're looking for your products, they often type in weird search terms, or they come in through referral sites. And knowing where those referral sites are is really useful. So when it comes to those referral sites, things like GitHub and Stack Overflow, we're sending a tremendous number of users into our developer content, which is awesome. And we weren't talking to them at all, even though many of our engineers were heavily involved in their communities. So look for that complementary content. Tremendous numbers of awesome tutorials have been written on Stack Overflow of how to get people onboarded onto things like cloud storage. And we weren't including that in our content or reaching out to those writers. And take a look at your competitors, totally baseline against what they're doing. Incredibly useful. It's eye-opening to see what other people are doing. And don't look at the big competitors. Look at the really small ones, because they're usually doing really, really cool stuff. So the second act of our story, getting something working. So you found your content, you're reading it, and you want to get something done. So I'm going to look at our most complex project, our most complex product, App Engine, which is used to host mobile and web apps. So you basically upload your code to Google, we host it, we serve traffic, you pay for the amount of traffic that's used, monthly basis. It's a really great service. If you've heard of products like Snapchat, Khan's Academy, Rovio Games, if you shot Angry Birds at anybody, that's all built on top of App Engine. So it's an amazing product. It's great for scalable apps. So the first thing I did when I joined the team was fire up an instance. And it took 24 steps. So all sorts of pain and friction right here, including putting in my billing information, even though I wanted to just fire up Hello World. Not to mention downloading all sorts of various packages, setting up my local infrastructure. So there's a lot of pain. I don't need to go into this, but running through this and just dogfooding the process, this is bad. And this is the user perspective on this. And this is just me as a tech writer being a user advocate and saying, wow, it looks like you have a million dead ends that you could possibly run into. There's a tremendous amount of friction. What can we do to stop this? So luckily, everybody else recognized that this was a huge problem too. So we invited 43 external developers to do 4 hackathons, and 21 projects were built over the course of 2 months, and we just watched them. So there was 26 of us, the combination of tech writers, project managers, software engineers, a couple UX developers, and we collected data. So questions that we asked these developers as they were working were, first of all, how are we doing? What do you think? What's your frustration level? What tools and resources are you using? Are you going to GitHub? Are you going to Stack Overflow? Are you finding random message boards about the particular product that you're working on? Where are you going to get content? What can we do to make the process better? And what are the pain points? Where are you facing the most pain when it comes to using our Getting Started experience? So ways we collected data, pretty straightforward. We asked a bunch of questions, we did some affinity mapping, we actually had people brainstorm, put post-it notes up, mark what they had issues with. We just looked over people's shoulders, we had informal conversations with them, they were mixers. It was a lot like this event. We just had a lot of conversations. And so what we found is pretty much right at the beginning, there's this massive cliff of frustration. So as people come in, they're just faced with, honestly, a gigantic pantry of options. So here's all the ingredients that you can possibly use to build an application. And there were absolutely no recipes in the house. So there's no way to actually figure out what you wanted to do. And you had an idea of an application and no way to map what you wanted to do with what existed in the feature set. And once you got to Hello World and you actually launched an app to production, then things became far easier. Your frustration level dropped quite a bit. You were just doing a lot of regular product updates and troubleshooting. So we drew a line in the sand right here. Hello World. So Hello World for your product might be different. But there usually is a turning point at which you have enough knowledge that you're past that point of frustration. And what we learned from chatting with a lot of our developers is that there's some really critical principles that we need to apply at every given moment to when we develop documentation and when we develop developer products. And that is that the user is always in control. Any control that we can give the user to better their experience and give them more autonomy is a win for us. So that doesn't mean reveal all the complexity of our projects, but it does mean give them as many options as they can when they need them. And give the users what they want quickly. And these things kind of contradictory, but the trick is to give users consistent value. It's like if you're learning a foreign language. You don't pick up a grammar book and start learning grammar structures in Spanish. And when I started learning Spanish, I immediately learned hola, and then I learned how to order 2 beers. Because it's about an immediate return in value. Number 3 is reduce friction everywhere. Anywhere you see an unnecessary option where we're trying to front load, billing information or verify your email address a couple times for us, get rid of it quickly as possible. Anything we can do to reduce that friction, any unnecessary warnings in our documentation, anything that we can do to reduce the amount of pain and frustration that people perceive is absolutely critical. And last, show don't tell. Like our last speaker pointed out, we're tech writers. We're trying to get people to a solution. We're trying to help people. We don't need to explain the complexity of our projects. We need to tell people what they need. So taking a look at that 24-step process and all the pain that was in it, the developers and the Google employees that are working with them narrowed it down to 4 key steps. You select try it now on the main page. You select the language that you need for App Engine, because we only support a selected set of languages. You get all of the required installation packages to get your local environment up and running. And one of those is, and a starter application is deployed with Hello World for you. So the time to Hello World, that's TTHW, is 15 minutes, which is awesome. Because when I set up and got to Hello World, it took about 4 hours. So, and even, this is a great improvement, but something that we've recently started experimenting with that we actually find really fascinating, and is we have a widget that we can embed in our docs, and it's called the Cloud Playground. And what it does is it allows us to compile and run code samples and return results for people in the doc. So this is launched on an instance of App Engine, and it immediately returns whatever it is that's in this code. So this is Hello World, but I've changed the line to Hello Write the Docs, and it spits out Hello Write the Docs when you hit the play button. So your time to Hello World is now 30 seconds. This is freaking awesome for our users. So people are incredibly happy with this. Response rates have been, basically the frustration level dropped 50%. And I'll talk about how we calculate frustration level in a second. Because we love numbers. We love numbers at Google. So we dropped from 4 to 5 hours originally to 30 seconds to get to Hello World. So ways to measure success in the second act: dog food your product. Once again, never stop dog fooding your product. Log friction. Seriously, sit down, log every single step that's required for people to get to that initial frustration point after you define it. And then calculate how long it takes to get there. And work really hard to reduce it. So for us, it was time to Hello World. For you, it might be something a little different. And lastly, in this last third act of getting their thing working, so this is launching a specific application. So for us, we actually really struggle a lot with this because it's a complex set of applications that we're working with. There's a tremendous number of ways you can combine all of these different products. And we actually don't want to define everything that people can do, because honestly, we can't. We want people to make really cool, complex, interesting, insane applications with our products. And we don't want to predict what they're going to do. We want to give them the freedom to build it. So how do we focus on this personalized experience at the very end where we actually define what their product is? And really what we worked on is community outreach and working with, trying to connect with people as closely as possible. And some of this was going out to communities where people already exist and bringing their content into our docs. And some of it was exporting our content out to communities that were very, very well established. So, for instance, Stack Overflow, we it turns out tremendous number of engineers heavily involved in the Stack Overflow community, doing lots of great work, answering a ton of questions on their products. And we had a whole fancy list of all the products that we use in Stack Overflow. So App Engine has its own tag. All the features within App Engine have their own tag. Compute Engine has its own tag. So what we did is, as questions on Stack Overflow got tagged, they would appear in our documentation. So we would know what the top level questions were. We could see it at a glance. We could answer them as tech writers, or we know who in the company knows the answer to that and point them to it. So it's a way that we integrate support into our documentation. It's pretty low level, and it's worked out really well for understanding pain points in our content and pain points in our products, and tied us way better in with the developer community. We've also started a GitHub repo with a ton of samples, so ways of personalizing our content. Like I said, we don't know what everybody's going to build with it, but we have a pretty good idea of sort of the fundamentals they need once they get past Hello World. So we have a lot of fully fleshed out applications that people can download, tear apart, understand how they work, launch themselves. It's a great way to give back to the developer community and invite people in to host really interesting projects that they've solved that they want to share with others. So other ways that we've integrated feedback into our content is consumer surveys. So this is one way that we figure out how frustrated people are with their content. It's a quick way of just getting a litmus test on are people happy? Are people sad? You can embed questions into your documentation. Really easy. You can sign up for it, and you can embed little questions like this, and they appear in the sidebar of your content. And as people answer them, you can collect data on, are people happy with this page? Are they sad with this page? Are they're done with the getting started experience? Did they have a good time? Always useful to check. And lastly, we get feedback. So we have at the top of all of our docs, there's a little option that you can click feedback. You can take a screenshot of the part of the document that is wrong, and it instantly files a bug with the documentation team. So these are more for really quick nitpicky fixes, but we can get them immediately. So I want to leave you with a few questions, and I want to continue this conversation. So I have a breakout session downstairs, which starts in half an hour. But if you want to talk more about some of the issues that you had, some of the issues that you've had getting started with other Google products, awesome, I'll totally be there. But I want to leave you with these questions for how users are responding to your getting started experience. So, how are users getting to your docs and your content? What is your hello world? And how long does it take people to get there? What metrics are you collecting? And how are you interacting with your larger community? So, that is all. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for living through my first convention presentation. Thank you. And if you have any questions of your own, I'm guessing we're out of time. Oh, awesome. We have time for one or two. I have a microphone, but it appears to be crap. But you can run this out to people and I'll show it.
No, I got this one.
Questions? Questions? I'm quite friendly. Anything is totally fine.
Okay. Sorry if you're speaking to that.
Okay. So I'm interested in how many of your, what percentage of responses do you get for embedded questions in Google feedback? Because we try to solicit that in our help and we get almost zero response.
Ooh, I don't think I could break down. So we get, I would say we get way more responses to consumer feedback than we do just general feedback on our docs. But the feedback that we get on our docs is often really good. So we often get, and the screenshot functionality helps out a lot. Oftentimes we'll just get, this is wrong, and an image. And it requires some knowledge and some research, but it helps us out a lot. Consumer feedback's just launched recently, so I don't really have good numbers for you. So I can look that up for you later.
Cool. We'll do the last question. Do you ever have an entry point that you consider to be too low because you don't want to have to support a certain type of user, and how do you gauge where that is?
So I'm going to try to answer your question in a roundabout way. We do have this issue with our marketing content. As I pointed out earlier, we have our marketing content is separate from our developer content. And folding those together would be a huge win for people searching for our products. So it's less about not supporting, it's more about combining and how to do that in the most effective way possible. Yeah, so, yeah.
Jared, that's excellent.
All right, thanks a lot.